I call them fork in the road moments, where the essential things and people become really clear. And the opinions that don't matter, sometimes even the titles and all of that kind of fades away. And it was in that moment where I said to myself, I'm clear on my purpose. I'm clear on what really matters. Have that kind of clarity in a world that is increasingly noisy, chaotic,
Mhm.
and complicated.
So you grew up in a country where people slowly had to let go of their trust in the government to do the right thing by the people. And yet your journey has led you to deepening the trust you have in yourself.
I had here to continue to tell the stories that people there couldn't tell. And that's what I've done throughout my career as a journalist, now helping the American public understand what is happening in Venezuela.
Welcome to the Live Brave podcast. I'm Margie Warrell. Here you'll learn how to live and lead with more courage in an increasingly anxious world. If you'd love to bring your bravest self to your biggest challenges and the boldest vision for your life, you are in the right place. Let's get started. Hello there and welcome back to the Live Brave podcast. Today I'll be sharing with you my conversation with Mariana Atencio, who grew up in Venezuela but has made the United States her home. Mariana has experienced things that most of us never do. She's known what it is to grow up in a country where democracy, where freedom, where prosperity, where so many of the basic human rights that most of us living in countries like the United States, like Australia, take for granted. But I know from my shared experience with Mariana, we both discovered during our conversation that we'd both been held up at gunpoint in our 20s, that within us is an extraordinary capacity to meet life's hardest moments and to rise to the challenges that we see around us with greater courage. Mariana, in sharing her story, shares how ultimately our ability to trust in ourselves is foundational for us to be able to live more bravely, to lead more effectively, and to establish the trust that we need to build with others if we're going to live truly meaningful, rewarding lives. I know you will enjoy our conversation because Mariana speaks with so much passion, so much heart. I had obviously not met Mariana before, as you'll quickly hear. And I should just say, we spoke for about 15 minutes when I realized I had not hit the record button. And I was in that moment, I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I haven't hit record. I was like, I'm sorry, but we have to start again. And she couldn't have been more gracious with me. And it's interesting because we talked about being authentic and being real and owning our faults and fallibility. And man, it was an experience of it there right in the middle of our first ever conversation. So I hope you will enjoy it. I know you will get a lot from it as you think about what would open up for you if you trusted yourself more fully. What does being authentic really look like in a world where algorithms are engineered to make us feel insecure and to pressure us to conform and prove and feel like we have to wear a mask in order to feel like we belong? I know you'll enjoy not only her story of what it was to grow up in Venezuela and what it's like right now to be living essentially in exile, but also her deep insights on how we as humans can lead more authentic, brave lives. Enjoy. And of course, if you value this conversation, I would love it if you would just rate, review, share, subscribe, because it helps the algorithms that enable this podcast to show up on the feeds of others. Thanks again, and on with my conversation with Mariana. Mariana, thank you for being on my podcast, and thank you for the take two since we've been chatting a while and I realized I hadn't pressed record.
That means that this podcast, Maggie, can last hours and hours. But for the sake of time for your listeners, we're gonna make it pithy and super valuable for you guys. And Maggie, I was just saying before that the second that I saw your email and that I checked out your trajectory and what you talk about, it was a heck yes, and I'm so happy to be having this conversation with you today.
Well, Mariana, you have had an extraordinary journey yourself. You grew up in Venezuela. You grew up in an environment where, the wheels were slowly coming off the bus, in a sense, from what Venezuela was. And, you said your parents always reminded you of this is who Venezuela is. Obviously, the last 25 years, but Venezuela has been absolutely in the spotlight over the last couple of weeks since President Trump went in and extracted Maduro out. I'm curious to know what it was like for you growing up in a country where it grew increasingly unstable. Freedom was slowly robbed away. Prosperity was slowly slipping away. And what that was like for you, how did that shape who you are today?
Thank you for the question, Maggie. It's been truly just a very grueling journey the last 25 years, watching this beautiful, prosperous, democratic place where I was born descend into what we see in the headlines now. I remember growing up, my parents telling me about this country that was a land of opportunity. In many respects, Venezuela was a country during the 1940s, the 1970s, where so many immigrants from a war shattered Europe, a flourishing Jewish community, the Lebanese community, from Spain, from Italy. My own grandparents my maternal grandfather came from Corsica. My paternal grandparents came from Germany. And this was a place where any business you started just flourished. It was that amazing. And then watching what happened to it was really a lesson for me in that if there is distrust of institutions, if there's distrust among community members, if political parties, the media, they start to cannibalize themselves, really everything can be taken from you. This is 100% shaped my journey, not only as a journalist. When I started seeing, the lack of freedom of speech, I said, this is something that I want to dedicate my life to. But also my journey now as a speaker and author, coaching leaders and speaking to organizations about how they can truly solidify trust, become those generators of trust in a time. Because if we look at where we are now in 2026, somebody in Australia or in Europe or in the United States of America can tell you, I am living, not in Venezuela, but in an environment of a lot of anxiety and a lot of fear about, what the future holds.
Yeah. I know you had an experience which you wrote about in your book, and I'll put a link to the book in the show notes. When you were 24, you found yourself at gunpoint. And that was a very crucible experience, but one that was a catalyst for your trajectory ever since. Can you just share a little bit about that experience and how that actually helped you to become who you are today?
That was a before and an after in my journey, because when I was going up a hike. Imagine I was in nature and by myself, and this man who was hiking next to me pulled a gun from his shorts and pressed it to my forehead, made me kneel, and said "Cuenta hasta cien," which means count to 100. And I remember pounding and realizing I may not get to 100 alive. And if I do survive this, what is it that I'm going to do with my one life? As the poem goes. I realized at that time that, contrary to I wanted to do journalism there and to give a voice to people there, that I was going to have to leave and use whatever platforms I could build outside in this, my adopted country, the United States, that welcomed me with open arms. And I became a citizen in 2020, and I'm so proud of that fact. Um, use whatever platforms I had here to continue to tell the stories that people there couldn't tell. And that's what I've done throughout my career as a journalist. Now helping the American public understand what is happening in Venezuela. But truly also it spearheaded my work as a speaker because again, going back to that moment, and I oftentimes start my keynote speech with this anecdote because it was truly a moment where the ground shifted from under me. Everything was taken. And then you just have such clarity because when you are faced with a life or death situation, and many of us who are listening, maybe for you it was that moment where you lost a parent or you became a parent or you moved halfway across the world to start a new job. It is in these moments, I call them fork in the road moments, where the essential things and people become really clear. And the opinions that don't matter, sometimes even the titles and all of that kind of fades away. And it was in that moment where I said to myself, I'm clear on my purpose. I'm clear on what really matters. And I now teach leaders and organizations have that kind of clarity in a world that is increasingly noisy, chaotic, and complicated.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. And I shared with you previously how I had a similar experience with a gun at my head. I think I was 28, but it was actually, I look back on it and it helped me really get clear about who I wanted to be in the world that I would not be a victim. And for you, that traumatic experience, it's where things can produce post-traumatic growth. For you, you really stepped into your power. And it's interesting. I've noticed the parallel in the theme of trust. So you grew up in a country where people slowly had to let go of their trust in the government to do the right thing by the people. And yet your journey has led you to deepening the trust you have in yourself. So you couldn't trust in institutions and in these leaders that are supposed to steward the resources of a country to serve its citizens. And you really had to lean into trusting yourself. Share with me what self-trust means to you. Just taking a break from our conversation with Mariana to share with you that there are still 3 spots remaining at my upcoming retreat with the Modern Elder Academy. If you are in the middle years of life, if there's a part of you that you know is calling you to something bigger, something new, and yet you're not exactly sure what it is, or if you are, you're not even sure where to start, I encourage you, please click on the link in the show notes and look at my Courage is Calling retreat. My experience is that any investment we make in ourselves, in helping peel back the layers of doubt, of fear that keep us from really connecting with the truest vision for our lives, and then taking action to move toward it, even if it's a little scary and uncomfortable and we're worried we'll lack what it takes, is always an investment that pays big dividends. So if you are in a moment, a season in life where you're like, you know what? What's got me to this point isn't feeding me anymore, then I hope you'll look at it. I would love to support you in resetting on your bravest path forward. Now, back to my conversation with Mariana.
I also want to even go further into this scenario that I grew up in that is perhaps not that distant from what some folks are experiencing in the world today, which is not even only distrust in the government, but as I survived that incident and I'm going down the mountain trail, I remember there was a little guard's house. And for a split second, I'm like, should I report this, to the local policemen who were there? And then saying maybe they're in cahoots with the robber, and then not even I was a journalism student in college, and then not even really being able to tell that story or to do journalism around, what was happening in the country. So it was distrust on so many levels, Maggie. And I often talk about when all of that is stripped away, the core, and it's the work that I do with leaders and organizations where everything really stems from is self-trust. And I call it a signal audit. And I want our listeners to sort of close your eyes wherever you are and imagine, one day AI has taken your job and your LinkedIn bio just sort of disappears and your social media and all of these things that we go to for external validation. if you were to think about one word amidst all of that stripping that still defines you, so beyond the title and the validation, what would that word be? Is it builder, dreamer, fighter? Maybe you're still community leader. Maybe you're still, a parent first and foremost. I don't know. But do that exercise. It's sort of like a zero sum
Mhm,
scenario,
mhm,
that is extremely helpful because sometimes we are looking for that external validation elsewhere. And if we don't have that
mhm.
signal audit, that one word, or maybe it's three words, like there really is nowhere to grow that trust from. Nowadays, there was the Edelman Trust Barometer actually dropped today, the 2026 one. The crisis of trust, Maggie, is so massive on so many levels, but truly self trust is where everything begins. This idea that no matter what happens, you're going to be okay.
Uh,
No
y
matter what happens, you're
you
gonna rely on the talents that you have, on the people that are truly essential. We go back to, when you have that moment of clarity, who do you really count on? Who really is gonna answer your phone call, and tell you, "How can I help?" Because I know you're going through a tough time. So, developing that self-trust, and then when you think about who you really count on, that's the sort of the next layer, is who do you rely on and who relies on you? There's a quote by author and entrepreneur Jim Rohn that I love, which is, "You are the average of the 5 people that you surround yourself with." And you may
mhm,
have heard this phrase
yeah,
before.
mhm.
I hadn't. When I heard it, I was like, who am I hanging out with
Yeah, yeah,
down here
no,
in Miami where I live? And now I've just been so intentional
that
about
you
who those
you
five
invest in cultivating
who
relationship
those
with.
5 people are, who those 5
Yeah,
people are. And then the third layer is organizational for those folks who are in corporate, societal, when you think about your word and then you think about your purpose, what lights you up? What is the legacy that you want to leave behind, which is also part of the work that I do during my talks. And are those 5 people sharpening you to live in your purpose, to walk in
mhm,
your purpose? Or are they
mhm,
further distancing you
yeah.
from your purpose?
And I think a great way to test that sometimes is if you have something really big to celebrate, are they gonna celebrate loudly with you? And if you have
I love
doubts
that.
and you know that you wanna do something, but you doubt yourself, are they gonna say, "Absolutely, you've got this"? And the third criteria I have, do they care more about you than you liking everything they say to you? Will they do they have the courage to tell you a truth that you mightn't like hearing?
Listen, and that is critical, Maggie, because another thing that has to do with trust and this work on trust that I do is that, unfortunately, right, we're all living in
On these
silos,
devices? Mhm,
social media silos, information silos, where we are all, and there's obviously a media incentive to do that, which is part of the reason why I left traditional media. So you are constantly hearing an
mhm,
affirmation to your worldview. And we talked about before, you and I didn't grow up with the internet or social media, thank God. But there are whole generations now that grow up in these silos. So when they head to the office, or when they, are talking to a friend whose worldview differs from them, we really need to equip those next generations with the tools to understand, this person may not agree with me. How can I have a constructive debate with them
conversation. Yeah, yeah,
about what is happening? Or, this manager is giving me negative feedback. How can I make this not an earth shattering event, but actually take in the feedback
yeah.
and adjust what is needed and not have it be the end of the world?
I think, just it's interesting. And you wouldn't know this, but I actually wrote a book that came out in 2020 called You've Got This: The Life-Changing Power of Trusting Yourself.
Oh my God, this is incredible.
Very linked to this concept of self-trust, trusting in our capacity to meet the challenges that are coming at us one day at a time, 1 minute at a time, one moment at a time. But likewise, being so intentional about, yes, who we surround ourselves with, but also being willing to challenge our own best thinking.
Yes.
And And I think so much of that fosters resilience, fosters courage, enables us to pick ourselves up when we've been knocked to the ground, but also to stay true to who we are and
Love that you mentioned that.
how we
I
want to define ourselves. And you talk a lot about the power of authenticity, not as just self-expression, but as a strength. What is it to be truly authentic? Being yourself, bringing the truth of who you are to the world. And whether that's in Venezuela for people there who are in circumstances that they would never have chosen, but how do they bring the truth of who they are to really difficult circumstances that may be outside their control, but also in our jobs, in our work, in who we are as leaders? How do we bring the truth of ourselves to our circumstances, whether they're ones we've chosen or not?
It's hard to do because, as we were talking about before, unfortunately, we have been conditioned to put on a mask to make other people like us. Think about, little kids in the playground. Nobody wants to be the kid that was left out. And actually, going back to my journey, I've learned this lesson very early on, because this is the beginning of my TEDx talk. Our father down in Venezuela really wanted my siblings and I to learn English. So, and he was such a lover of, the United States, and sent us to summer camp in Brainerd, Minnesota, from Caracas, Venezuela, when we were 7 and 6 years old. So at a very young age, I learned what it was like to be cast out, and that I had to sort of contort myself to be accepted. And this idea that belonging takes work and it doesn't happen automatically. So if you compound that, sort of 30 years later, we have done that with our in-laws and with our bosses and with the friend group that we want to be a part of, and to be invited to this party and to have, this networking session. So taking off the mask is hard, but we are living in a time where people are questioning even the images that they see on their screen. They're questioning whether the voices that they're hearing on a podcast are actually real, or, maybe an AI voice. So we have to flip that. And we have to realize that the more that we take off the mask and the more real that we are, the more that we are going to connect, the more that we are going to resonate, the more that we are going to truly curate a community of people that are going to feel seen and relate to who we are, because that is what people are thirsty for. So we think that, we have to put on a mask, especially women, immigrants like myself. We have to put on a mask in order to project that image of success. Nowadays is the opposite. It is the taking off of the
Mhm.
mask. That is
100%.
the person that will be successful. That is the person that is actually going to be magnetic, which is a word that I love, and attract a community, a following, coworkers that will want to hang out with you, because it's almost like, man, I love doing this podcast with Maggie because she, is so real that it
Yeah,
gives
because
me
she forgot to press record on the podcast.
she gives me permission to also say, you know what, Maggie, next time I'm doing a podcast interview, if I fumble on something, it's okay. You know what? Because some of the greats, like Maggie on her podcast, it also happens to the best of us out there.
Yeah.
And
I
it's just
and I think, when people aren't perfect, but they're real, we connect because we know that we're not perfect. And it gives us, something for us to hold on to with someone else. I'm like, oh, you struggle with that too? Oh, you messed that up too? You
permission.
fell down then?
It
Yeah.
gives us permission to be, which is actually, by the way, shameless plug, the name of my Substack, Permission to Be by Mariana Atencio. Go check it out if you want. There are deeper articles on trust, self-trust, but also what's happening in Venezuela. But all of that to say, Maggie, the first person that has to give themselves permission to go out there and do whatever they want to do, to make the mistakes, to not have all the answers, is you. Like,
Yeah.
truly, when you
Yeah.
talk about self-trust, like, the first person that is likely hindering you becoming unstoppable and reaching new heights and getting where you want to be is you when you put on a mask and pretend for other people. So
Mm-hmm.
here are two very tactical, concrete things that people listening can start applying today, because I know all of these concepts may seem, kind of like somewhat abstract. Like, Mariana, okay, you just talked about taking off the mask. How can I start doing that today? It is hard, again, because we've been conditioned to putting on the mask. It was our way to survive in the world. It's okay. It's not anybody's fault. It is sometimes uh, painful because it can feel unsafe to take off a mask that you have been wearing for a long time and to reveal something about yourself that may feel vulnerable. You may face rejection, and understand that that is normal and we're all going through it. One thing that you can start doing today is realizing it doesn't have to be a painful, sort of enormous confession. I tell leaders and organizations, like, how can you start to be 2% more real today?
Mm-hmm.
After you listen to this podcast, how can you, in a conversation about an issue that really matters to you, in maybe it's the outfit that you choose for work tomorrow, where you're like, I want to wear something quirky and colorful. Maybe it's the way, which has happened to me, that I pronounce my name, Mariana, in a meeting instead of saying something that may sound, more mainstream for other people. Maybe it's the fact that I'm seeing what is happening in Venezuela. And even though I wasn't really doing a lot of news, saying, this is bursting out of me and I need to talk about it because I really care about it and the people over there that don't have a platform. So what is an issue? What is an outfit? What is a conversation where you can be 2% more real today and start seeing how that feels? Before we were talking about, if you happen to be at a party, for example, this has happened to all of us, and you're pouring yourself a drink and the person next to you says, "Oh my God, Maggie, it's so great to see you. It's been so long." You have no freaking idea who this person is. And the mask wearing version of Maggie would go, "Oh my God, it's so great to see you too." And then just sort of wander away and be like, "I'm not going by that person again." Instead of being 2% more real and saying, "You know what? I'm so sorry. I'm terrible with names. I just blanked out. Remind me where we know each other from, because I would love to reconnect." And then possibly have that be a meaningful connection that you wouldn't have in a million years made if the fake version of yourself would have come out.
Yeah. Yeah. I think so many people relate to that. I know myself. Often I remember exactly who they are. I just can't remember their name. So it's like, oh my gosh, I know I've asked your name before and I haven't remembered it. But to your point on that realness. And I want to just bring this back to just the human journey. There's many people who have not ever experienced what it's like to grow up in a country that is so unstable, where there's not democratic freedoms. Obviously, most of the listeners of this podcast are in the United States, they're in Australia, and about 10-15% are outside the US or Australia. And so many people, though, are struggling to trust themselves, are feeling anxious about the future, are feeling metaphorically like there's a gun at their head. What's the future hold for me? And fear so often just can keep us, stressed out, buttoned up, not really feeling like, yeah, I have got this. They don't feel like they've got this. And I think that's where, to me, practicing a little self-compassion with us just as human beings.
100%.
None of us have it all figured out. We're all figuring it out wherever you live in the world, whatever your challenges are, you know, give yourself permission to be an unfinished draft of who it is you want to be. And so, what's your experience of, being kind to yourself when life's difficult?
So this is where I want to also introduce a concept and a word that I am so passionate about and is so important to this work, which is alignment. Times we just have to go back into alignment with our own selves. And what do I mean by this? Many times when we're not being authentic, Maggie, is because we are trying to present something that external, validators, people have deemed is important, and maybe that's a marriage, a certain weight on the scale, an Instagram account, a certain job or title. And I want you to really ask yourself, is that really aligned with who I am, like deep inside, with like what makes me feel alive, with my core pillars? Because maybe it's a role that you weren't meant to play. So when I think about, how people can give themselves grace, is also asking yourself, what can I do for myself today that feels really aligned? And maybe that is, for example, I'm a huge movie buff. I've loved films ever since I was a little girl. They transport me to like, other worlds. And it's a beautiful art form for me. So maybe for me, that's just cuddling up in the sofa. And I watched The Bridges of Madison County the other day and I like cried my
It's a beautiful movie.
Oh my God, it's so incredible. Clint Eastwood in the rain. Anyway, I did that on Sunday night because that is what I needed. But maybe I don't need to go to an hour and a half workout if that is not something that is aligned for me. Maybe for some people, giving themselves grace is saying, you know what, I'm going to out with my girlfriend, have a glass of wine. So it all really depends on what is nurturing for you. But truly being honest about what that answer is the first step. And then the other thing that I will say in terms of the state of the world, because we talked about actually the Edelman Trust Barometer dropped today, so it's very providential that we are having this conversation, is this idea that, and I'm going here to my notes because the data is just staggering. Listen to this. At work, 42% of employees say they would rather switch departments than report to a manager with different values. If a project or a team leader has different political beliefs than me, 34% of employees admit that they would put less effort into helping them succeed. So that is also something that I want to call on everybody to do today is, I know the media and social media, and there are all these like silos that are pulling us into extremes. But I come from the future. I come from a beautiful country that was torn apart because people with differing views could no longer trust in each other and talk to each other. So I am here to tell you, bringing our conversation full circle, do whatever you can to have a civil, constructive conversation with someone that maybe thinks a little differently than you. And the trick to that is, how can you think about the things that unite us? What we do have in common, maybe something that we love to do, how we want to leave it better off for our kids and the next generation. Maybe, I don't know, we're both dog lovers, let's try to
Yeah.
find
Find that common ground. Find that
common
common
ground
ground.
because it's really
Yeah.
the only way that we move
Connecting.
forward as people.
Connecting on that. So, Mariana, I'm trying to say it with the accent, which is not good as an Australian.
You're
I'm
doing a
mo-
great job.
I'm monolingual. So, Mariana, um, this is the Live Brave podcast where I talk a lot about how do we live and lead with courage, which is obviously what is everything we've been talking about, whether that's in how you show up authentically, how you deal with your challenges. But how do you define courage in the context of this moment in time, in this very fractured, polarized world where we're just bombarded with algorithms every single day that are stoking anxiety, fueling comparison and insecurity? And given the context of also just the geopolitical instability and volatility, what does courage look like for you? And what do you want to share with listeners to help them walk the braver path also?
3 words, Maggie. 3 words that I've been working on and that are going to be my mission, I know, in 2026 and beyond. Permission to be. Permission to be. You are the only person that can give yourself permission to drop the mask, that can give yourself permission to give yourself the green light for a project that you've always wanted to do. Give yourself permission to have maybe an imperfect answer, to not have all the answers, to start a project and have it be a little messy at the beginning. Permission to not know about a certain subject matter, but want to know more. Like ultimately, when also we look at the news and what is happening geopolitically, permission to care. permission to care about what is happening somewhere else in the world that, may be very far away from where I live or from where I grew up, but that also has mothers and fathers and people trying to survive in that kind of environment. Permission to truly lead in this world. We are all meant to lead right now, and you will lead from your strengths. You and I talked about this very traumatic incident that happened to the both of us. Permission to overcome, permission to have your brokenness be your source of strength and fuel for what it is you're meant to do in this world. So I think that we just need to give each other, and especially give ourselves, just a little permission to be imperfect and not have all the answers. Because whenever people start to act, and even leaders start to act, and politicians start to act, and even media people start to act like they have all the answers, they seldom do. So give yourself permission to be imperfect and to go after what it is that really lights you up in this time. Because I think what this journey has taught me is that things can change very quickly. Your life can change in 2 minutes on a mountaintop.
Yeah.
And if not now, when?
And if not you, then who?
And if not you, then who? And I think it was Judy Garland that said, you might as well be yourself because everybody else is taken.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Mariana, for your insight, your wisdom, but more so, thank you for giving yourself permission to be the bright, shining light that you are, the leader, just the woman that you are. Because I think when we give ourselves permission to be imperfect, to sit at home and watch Bridges of Madison County and just cry our eyes out and get that red, ugly face. I don't know, maybe you don't get that. I get that. But when we give ourselves permission to be the flawsome humans that we all are, it does by default give others permission to do the same. And
A
I
100%, Maggie, a hundred
yeah,
percent. Little ripple effects of authenticity and trust, and that's truly how we can be the change. I want to thank you for being the bright light you are. I feel that we kind of go way back, and this was just sort of cosmically aligned, where we had to get together today. Oh, so sorry. My mom is actually calling me from Venezuela, so I better
oh,
you better get on that
on
call.
that note, I'm gonna let you go, but thank you so much. And we will stay in touch. I know it.
Thank you for helping people be more courageous. We need more of that in the world, because we also collectively don't know where we are headed. I truly believe that we are, living in uncertain times, and we don't know what the next 5-10 years are going to look like. So let's all be a little more courageous, to just give ourselves permission to give ourselves grace, and to be there for one another.
Amen. Amen. Well, you go talk to your mum. Say
Thank you
hello
so
for
much.
me. Okay.
Thank you.
Yes.
Ciao.
Thanks.
Adios.
Bye.
Gracias.